First day in the studio, full day of the year again. I went out for a run. It's so freezing cold. My lungs, they just burn inside from all that cold air. But anyways, it's about time to be creative here in the studio and make some music.
You played the game hard and I looked away because baby you see.
I don't know what's up today. I started this morning working here in the studio and I just couldn't come up with anything. I'm a DJ, music producer. I heavily rely on my creativity to just work because it's my main source of income. And sometimes you have these days where you just can't work on anything. Nothing seems to be working. You feel very uninspired, not creative. And then I usually just go for a run as today and it helps me, but today also that didn't really help. So I think I have to come up with something different. So let's maybe make this Jon Sine's guide to how to increase your creativity. Usually a lot of people tell you to not force it, but I think sometimes forcing yourself a little can actually push you towards being creative. So for me, for example, I sometimes sit in the office and do business stuff and I don't feel really creative, so I prefer like getting all of the emails done. But then forcing myself to come over here, sit here in the separate room and just work on music, after like 10-15 minutes of forcing myself to work on it, it then actually flows again. So sometimes just go for it. Only problem is I already tried that this morning and it just didn't help. So forcing it, not forcing it, running, no success so far. Usually these help.
You thought that this would be a sad song.
Something really obvious that always helps me, and that's something I learned to embrace, is getting rid of anything social media, emails, internet. I'm so happy that this room right here, because it's like full of absorbing material to keep like the reverb in check, it doesn't receive anything. Like there is no Wi-Fi, no 3G, 4G. It's just me, my MacBook with Logic on it, and just like focusing on making music. So that's also not the problem and not the solution to me trying to be creative today. I don't know about this tip. It sometimes helps. It usually helps me when I'm not doing it on purpose, and that is just doing absolutely nothing, like waiting until you get bored. And we all humans hate it when it's boring, and we suffer a little, and this maybe pushes us to be creative. And it also just helps every once in a while and sit and think, because if you're working in a creative field, you're thinking, your imagination, that's like the most important asset, and it really works the best if you just don't do anything else. And at least for me as a music producer, usually these times are where I'm making my songs. I construct them in my head, I have the melodies ready and everything, and then being in the studio is mostly about just like finishing what I've been imagining during these kind of times where it's just boring. But I'm too impatient for this technique, so let's maybe skip it. For these kind of times where I'm bored and I have ideas, I always keep like the Apple's Notes app on my phone, and I just write down whatever I can come up with, or I use the voice memo app to record melodies that I hum, or maybe I hear in a store a song that inspires me. I Shazam it, record it, or just write down what the name was, and then later on have that list to be creative again. But very, very unfortunately, on that list are only stupid ideas left, because I've used all of the good ones in the past 6 months to produce my album. It's like this close to being finished, so I'm struggling a little finding new good ideas that are not the same. I don't want to repeat on an album ideas. It's just boring for the listener. Gut, alles klar. Dann bis dann, ne? Jo, ciao. I try to call my guitar player, because like working with him, collaborating, that's also a good way to force yourself, because if there's someone else there, they can take over when you're not inspired. Maybe they make something that inspires you, and that then just kind of works. But he has unfortunately no time. But we just agreed to meet here in exactly 1 week. to do a recording session. Him and Julia, we're re-recording one of my songs in the vocal booth. This will be actually quite exciting, so if you're interested, just tune in. So this right here is usually my secret weapon, just listening to music, analyzing it, and this usually gives me ideas, inspiration, techniques that I could just copy or adjust and make my own. And this really applies to no matter what creative thing you want to do. If you're an artist and you want to paint, just watch someone on YouTube paint. For music production, maybe a tutorial, DJ tutorial, these kind of things can help, but please don't get stuck on YouTube for too long, because that's, again, wasted time. And to be honest, my biggest creative help are these huge expensive speakers. I just love them. Every time I work on them here in the A studio, I just immediately feel inspired and pumped. But as you might be able to already guess by me wearing the jacket, I forgot to turn on the heat here in the A studio, so I can't use it today. It's just way too cold. And I'm unfortunately still not done rebuilding it. As you know, this was like a full or kind of full studio setup with outboard gear, a table and everything. And now I decided to change it into a creative room. Still have speakers here, acoustic treatment, but instead of a table, just like a couch to make it more like a living room studio kind of approach, which I really like, because it gives me the possibility to change between downstairs in the B studio, just working really focused at a desk with all of the gear and everything, or just come up here whenever I need to be creative, because like just sitting on a couch listening to music feels way less forced. And on top of that, of course, there is the amazing view. I mean, really, this plays a huge role, being able to overlook water, sun is already setting, cranes that are moving, boats that are passing by. I just love it. Absolutely love it. So if you have the possibility to just go outside and work there, try and do it. I mean, for music, you just need your laptop, headphones, and you're ready to go.
Not alone.
I'm really desperate by now, so I think I'll just work on some of my old projects, like half-finished projects. I have millions of those, and maybe this way get everything flowing again. And then if that doesn't work, the last resort is usually just making something and trying to make it really bad. I don't know why, but if you try to make something really bad, it doesn't feel like work, it doesn't feel like pressure, you're just doing it for fun. And usually you then already start using the program, working, and like doing something on purpose bad can also even inspire you, or you come up with things you otherwise would never do. And maybe 90% of what you do is really bad, but then 10% out of it can inspire you to make something great. Actually, again, this is usually what helps me if I'm really stuck. Couple of hours later, I made something, not really proud of it, nothing that I want to share with you, but at least I made something, like a basis I can work off. And what actually did the trick for me was like incorporating the analog gear. I actually only use it for recording. I never use it to route things through, so I did that today, which is actually a big waste of time, but it got me started. Like giving yourself a mission, like making it a game and like challenging yourself is also a way to get things started. But yeah, I think I will just call it a day. It's already dark outside and there are a lot of other tasks I have to deal with right now. It's sometimes better to just take care of the annoying things that you usually would have to deal with on the days where you are creative, so just get them out of the way. For example, picking up the car, it got professionally washed. It's very clean now. Returning Vanessa's mom's car that we got to pick up our car. Cooking, taking care of emails, helping my mom with her website, continuing putting our life into boxes. Yeah, we're moving, and the moving part is really stressing me out. And last, maybe the most important, and the one that I'm screwing up the most, getting some sleep, getting some rest, to have enough energy and power for tomorrow. Another day in the studio making music, hopefully more creative than today. I really don't know what's wrong with me. It's now 4:30 in the morning. I went to bed, couldn't sleep, had ideas in my head, melodies in my head. So I just had to like get them into the computer. I'm sure some of you can relate, like this really sucks. Like, I don't know why, but at night I'm usually more creative, especially when I'm actually tired and should go to bed and rest. It just doesn't work, but I'm happy. I made something I'm proud of. I had a ton of good ideas and I think it's actually working, and I can't wait to like finalize it tomorrow in the studio. That's just the way it is. If you're working creative, you're working 24/7.
Like I do with you, so stay.